The moment Rowan Hale stepped into the sunlit café, he immediately regretted coming. His shirt still held faint wrinkles from the restless night before, his hands shook from another morning spent juggling 2 part-time jobs, and his eyes burned with the exhaustion only a single father truly understood. But none of that compared to the sharp twist in his chest when he saw the empty chair across the table. His blind date hadn't arrived. Again. 3rd time this month. 3rd stranger who didn't bother to show up the moment he heard the words, "I have a 5-year-old daughter." Rowan stared at that lonely chair as if it mocked him. Then, suddenly, a woman in a crisp white suit, radiant, composed, and clearly out of his league, stepped toward him with hesitant eyes and whispered, "Are you Rowan?" The world seemed to freeze. Because someone had come. For the first time in months, someone actually came. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that touch hearts, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps us continue bringing real emotion to the screen. Rowan blinked, almost disbelieving. The woman introduced herself as Aria Lorne, the CEO his friend had jokingly warned him about, too smart, too successful, too intimidating. But nothing about her felt intimidating as she carefully sat across from him, as if trying not to disturb the air between them. The café was warm, sunlight spilling across the tables, the hum of morning conversations blending with the gentle clinking of cups. Rowan wondered if he looked as shocked as he felt, but Aria simply smiled, a calm, soft smile that made his heart falter. She apologized for being late, explaining she had stepped out of a board meeting early. Then she asked something no one had asked him in years, "How are you, really?" The question hit harder than expected. He had grown used to hiding the truth under forced smiles and tired jokes. As they talked, Rowan noticed she listened with genuine attention, leaning forward slightly, eyes softening whenever he spoke about his daughter, Meadow. He tried to speak casually about raising her alone, but his voice cracked when he recalled the day his ex walked out, leaving nothing behind but a scribbled note. Aria didn't look away or pity him, she simply absorbed every word as if his struggles mattered. Rowan realized he was gripping his cup too tightly, his nerves betraying him, but Aria reached across the small table and gently touched his hand, not pulling it, just grounding him. And for the first time in years, he allowed himself to breathe. He hadn't expected comfort from someone like her. Aria Lorne, with her designer suit, her flawless posture, her world built on order and success, seemed like the last person who would understand the chaos of his life. But when he asked about her world, she hesitated before confessing that despite the glamorous perception, she spent her life surrounded by people who only cared about her title. She spoke of decades spent proving herself in a male-dominated industry, the loneliness behind polished boardrooms, the exhausting expectation to always be perfect. And suddenly Rowan saw her not as a CEO, not as someone above him, but as a woman who knew emptiness in her own way. The conversation flowed effortlessly. Rowan found himself laughing, a raw, unrestrained laugh that startled him. Aria smiled more than she probably had all week. The cafe owner even dropped by, joking that the two looked like they'd known each other for years. Rowan felt warmth spreading in a place that had been cold for too long. But the magic of the moment shattered when his phone buzzed. A call from Meadow's daycare. His stomach dropped. They told him Meadow had fallen while running, scraped her knee badly, and was crying non-stop, calling for him. Rowan apologized repeatedly to Aria, grabbing his things in a panic. He wasn't embarrassed by being a single father, but he hated that the world always made him feel like a burden, like an inconvenience someone else had to tolerate. Just as he stood to rush out, Aria surprised him again. She stood too. And quietly asked, "May I come with you?" She must be scared. Rowan froze. He'd known Aria less than an hour. Yet something about her voice, calm, steady, genuinely caring, made him nod before fear could twist his thoughts into doubt. They hurried out together into the bright midday sun, the city buzzing around them, Aria holding her heels in one hand as she walked barefoot beside him so she could keep pace. He noticed then that she was human, wonderfully human, not the unapproachable figure everyone made her out to be. At the daycare, Meadow was sobbing in the arms of her teacher, tears streaking across her tiny face. But the moment she saw her father, she reached out and clung to him with both arms. Rowan held her close, whispering reassurances, guilt flooding his chest. He didn't expect Arya to kneel beside them on the floor, placing a small bandage she'd taken from her purse gently over Meadow's cut. Meadow sniffled, studying her with big wary eyes. Arya offered the child her hand with a soft smile, and Meadow, ever cautious, slowly placed her tiny hand in Arya's. Rowan's heart did something he hadn't felt in a long, long time. It hoped. After he signed Meadow out, the three walked toward a nearby park, Meadow's small hand swinging between them. The scene felt surreal under the clear blue sky, a CEO in bare feet and a single dad in a wrinkled shirt walking side by side like a family that had always existed. Rowan kept expecting Arya to pull away, to check her watch, to remember the world waiting for her. But she didn't. She watched Meadow chase pigeons, she laughed at her curious questions, she listened to Rowan explain how he balanced life through exhaustion and sheer love. Something inside Rowan cracked open when Arya suddenly said, "You're doing an incredible job." He'd heard supportive words before, empty ones, brief ones, but Arya's felt different. They felt earned. They felt true. For the first time, Rowan allowed himself to look at her fully. Her hair messy from the wind, her suit jacket tied around her waist, a faint smudge of Meadow's tear-stained cheek on her sleeve. She didn't look like a CEO. She looked like someone who belonged there, someone who wasn't scared of life's chaos. He didn't realize he was staring until she met his gaze, cheeks warming, and for a moment the world stilled, but reality eventually intruded. Arya received a call from her board, reminding her she had a major merger discussion in less than an hour. Rowan immediately stepped back, embarrassed again, apologizing for dragging her out of her schedule. But Arya shook her head and took his hand, unexpectedly, firmly. She looked straight into his eyes and said, "Don't apologize for needing someone. And, don't push me away for choosing to be here." Her words struck him deeper than she could have known. No one had chosen him in a long time. They walked back toward the street, but before leaving, Arya turned to Meadow and knelt once more. She told the little girl she was brave, asked if she could see her again, and Meadow nodded with shy certainty. Arya stood, took Rowan's hand again, and held it longer than necessary. Her voice softened as she said, "Don't leave today thinking you're alone. You're the only person I've met in years who made me feel seen. If this moment touches your heart, please drop a comment before the ending. Tell us which part warmed your soul today." Rowan stood frozen as she finally stepped into the waiting car her assistant had summoned. But before the door closed, Arya leaned out and whispered, "I came today because I wanted to. And I hope you'll let me come again." The door shut gently, and the car pulled away, leaving Rowan staring after her with his daughter's hand wrapped around his. He felt something inside him shift, something he'd thought long dead. His heart throbbed not with fear or loneliness, but with possibility. In that warm daylight, as Meadow tugged his shirt and asked if the pretty lady would join them again, Rowan whispered a hopeful yes. Because for the first time in forever, someone had looked at him, really looked, and stayed. Someone saw the father, the man, the quiet strength beneath his tired eyes. Someone came. And didn't leave.